Hi, everybody. I believe we are live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And let's just, so we are live. Wonderful. Okay. So some of you may or may not have seen the last post I put up. So we said we're beginning today. We're going to be looking at following our own flow of success. It's 5 days. It is not a challenge. Let me just begin with that. I do not do challenges. This is 5 days of exploration, discovery, and the beginnings of transformation. The reason I want to make that very, very clear is because often people do challenges and things like that and expecting huge differences to start happening, to happen in their lives. So that can happen. Yes, within these 5 days, you might find that your paradigms shift. You might find that you are doing things slightly differently in these 5 days. But really what makes the biggest difference is habitual entrainment. So that is changing things up of what you have been doing and what you are doing for something different that will produce a greater result. That takes time. The belief change may happen on the spot, but then it's a matter of having it affect in your life. And that's something that I believe takes time and practice. And so these 5 days are literally, they're just a start for you, but you can go back to them over and over again. I'll be sharing some knowledge, tools and techniques. I'll be doing some healings and some clearings for you on some of these real pervasive beliefs that have us held in a space where we cannot actually achieve greater, however much we do, because we are doing it from the space of where we are. Einstein once said, you can never tackle a problem from the level that the problem was created. You need to go to a different level of consciousness to find the solution. So with that in mind, we're going to be looking at, or I'm going to be looking at with you, how to transform your level of consciousness where you're at so that you're creating from a different space. So before we even begin that, I'm not going to be sharing loads and loads of stories either. What I'm really going to be doing with you is giving you tools and asking, giving you information and giving you clearings and healings to help you. My journey is my journey. Your journey is your journey. It is totally unique. And we are all unique. So with the Joyful Abundance Blueprint, the first part of the blueprint, the first element within the 3 elements, is a complete uncovering, deconditioning, and knowing of self. Knowing of self, knowing of your purpose, and also getting you into a space where you are completely comfortable, confident, and happy with who you are. Because unless you are happy where you are, you cannot create greater, because you're always going to be living from the space of dissatisfaction. There is a really fine line with this, and a lot of coaches will say to you, you've got to get dissatisfied, you've got to get uncomfortable before you make a change. There is a level of that, but I don't believe it comes from berating ourselves, looking at ourselves and being harsh with ourselves as to where we are and what we've achieved. I believe it comes from acknowledging all of the things that we have been and we have done, and allowing our being, body, mind, and spirit to really look at and celebrate everything that we've done, everything that we've gone through, everything that we have achieved. The fact that you are even listening to this tells me that you are not in the space of wallowing. You're not in the space of oh, you know, I have had a terrible life and those sort of things. There may have been things in your life that have been horrendous. There may have been things that you wouldn't wish on anybody, and you have got through them. So that's the first, really the very first thing that I would like you to take a moment, is to acknowledge how far you've actually come. And many of us have made mistakes. Many of us made errors. Many of us, if we were to rewrite our lives from now, there would be so many things that we would say, oh, I'm not going to do that because that didn't turn out well. But we didn't know. We didn't know. Maybe we were not in tune with our intuition. Maybe we didn't listen to our intuition. But that was then. You cannot change the past. You cannot rewind that. All you can do is learn from it, remove any traumatic emotion so that it's not locked into your body, mind, and spirit, and so that those emotions are not actually informing how you behave and how you do life in the future. Just a quick example. So you may have gone into a relationship where you didn't listen to the nagging, the gut feeling where this person is not good for me. And now, if that relationship, the same thing came up again, you will still have that nagging feeling. That the trick is to recognize it and to make a different choice. Now, the other part of that is when we're operating from a different paradigm, a different way, we often don't even attract that into our field. And again, I'm not talking just from an energetic perspective. I'm talking from a literally practical perspective. If you used to go out to bars and nightclubs and places like that to meet people, maybe now you are going to places where the people that you wish to meet hang out. There is a different type of person. I'm not saying that it's the wrong thing to do. What I'm saying is there are places that draw certain types of people into those spaces. They may not be the highest vibration. There may be a lower vibration there. And when you are vibrating in a different frequency, when you have different thoughts, when you have different behaviors and different habits, you will choose differently. And that's what we're seeking to change. It all goes together. It's not just one thing. It's not just energy. It's not just habits. It's not just behaviors. It's not even just environment. It is everything all together, and it's underpinned by knowing who you be. Knowing that in the deepest core part of you. Knowing what you can handle. What overstresses you, knowing what values are important to you, and really living by those values. So that first part, that first element of the Joyful Abundance Blueprint is uncover for a reason. It is looking at your identity. And we're going to do some of that in the next 5 days. So today we're going to, so let me just lay out what we're going to actually be covering. So today, we're going to talk about imprinting. We're going to talk a little about where that comes from. And we're going to have a little dabble with finding some habits or behaviors to change and looking at how we can change those. And I'll be doing a very short clearing around that. So that's today. That's day 1. Day 2, we're going to be looking at the body equation. Now, for me, when I work with people, it is always mind, body, and spirit. I look at all 3. And then on the outside, it is the environment as well. So it's a real holistic view, because not only one of those things can make a difference, but all of those things create real radical transformation. And that's what I always look to achieve with my clients, radical transformation. And the radical transformation is not always on the exterior. It is an inner game. You can be working in the same place. You can be with the same family, have the same relationships, but feel and live in a completely different way and experience that life in a completely different way. So it's not always about changing things up on the outside. We look at changing things up on the inside. And the body equation is day 2, where we're going to be looking physically at the physical body. Day 3, we're going to revert into, do you really know yourself? And I'll be talking a little bit about human design, gene keys, language and behavior profile. These are tools, only tools and methodologies that can have that can assist you to knowing yourself better, along with tuning into your intuition, because that's the other part of it. Your intuition has the ability to guide you and to really inform you about what's going on in your inner world and in the outer world, so that you can actually live through your true energetic imprint, your true energetic profile. We also will look at how that evolves, because of course over time it evolves. Those of you who are reaching the 40s and 50s, usually there is a big life change, especially around the 50 mark. It's often described as the Chiron return. It is the end of cycles, and often people will have big awakenings, maybe some discomfort, some questioning of what they're doing, what's going on in their life, and how they wish to proceed with the next 30, 40, 50 years, maybe differently, because you've had the experience of working through potentially the childhood imprinting. Now we get to create it even more. Now that sometimes can happen earlier for some people, and yet still around 40, 50, there's often this cycle change. So that's day 3. We're going to talk about how to really know yourself, and I'll be giving you some very basic information. Those of you who really do want to delve into that more, I'll be offering something on day 3 for you. Day 4, we're going to go right into the truth of habit changing and behavior changing. So from day 1, 2, and 3, we're really focusing on the identity and deconditioning the body, because we cannot re-imprint on a body that is traumatized, that it's sitting in fight or flight, that is in survival mode. It's just not possible. The body will fight back, whether that be with illness, whether that be with behaviors that aren't suitable, cravings, all those kind of things. The body will resist. So on day 4, we're going, after we've done all of a lot of identity shifting work and body trauma shifting work, we're going to be looking at how to change behaviors in a very, very easy way. And day 5, we will be wrapping up, and I'll be doing a demo. I'll be doing a self-healing demo. Now I don't do this very often. However, it is one of the most powerful things that I found when I teach the theta healing classes or any other classes. I often find that the demo is the most powerful thing, not for the person being demonstrated on necessarily. Yes, they receive that session, as it were, that mini session. But for those watching, because you are stepping out of your environment, out of your paradigm, and stepping into something that is group wide, often it gives the mind permission, and it allows the ego to take a break, to take a rest, and allow changes to happen. So I often find that demos can actually make even more shifts and changes than being worked on personally. So I'm going to be doing that on day 5, and I'll also be inviting you to various things on day 5. And I'm going to keep it very clear, I will be offering things as we go through. It is your choice, obviously, to take anything on or not. My invitation for you is to receive the information, to receive the energy, and to take a look deeper into what you want to create as your own flow for success. So yes, that's what we're going to be covering in the next 5 days. So today we are going to talk about a little bit more about how you are now, how you are, because in order to release the behaviors and the conditioning, sometimes we do have to realize how they came about and why they are there. Now, you'll have heard many people talk about, potentially you may have heard people talking about how from the age of 0 to 7, a lot of our behaviors and our personality is imprinted. This is very true. When we, and even more so, 0 to 3, 0 to 2, 0 to 3, it's even more so, because it's as if you've got a completely blank brain and everything that's happening on the outside around you is coming into your subconscious. It first of all has no filter, so there isn't any conscious stuff going on. Hi, Stacey. But equally, it has no words to actually frame it. And these things from the age of 0 to 2, 0 to 3 are actually often the things that we find the hardest to shift in traditional talking sessions, because these things were created without verbiage, no words, but the energies and the feelings and the emotions, we wouldn't have even had the words to express what they are, but they're sitting in our subconscious. And often, you know, babies at that age, babies 0 to 2, are purely observing what's going on, and they are learning. They're learning how things are in the outside world. So, for example, if you have a mum who is scared of spiders, as much as she may have worked on that fear, if it's not completely gone for her, the energy, the frequency of fear when a spider is around will transfer to the infant. And often there will be they'll have a fear later on. And when they do, say, hypnosis or something, if they go and they want to release the phobia, it doesn't work because the fear was created without words. So they can't envision a time when something happened. Maybe all they're doing is they're sensing that there is something there, but they cannot pinpoint it. And we have tools and techniques to actually go through to that point and to pluck out those energies that are in some way informing our behaviors now as an adult in a way that's not helpful. So, you know, jumping up and down, being in shock, screaming is not so helpful as an adult with any kind of phobia, whereas a rational fear may be more appropriate. So we're looking for things that are appropriate as well. Sometimes the way we behave is disproportionate to the event that's happening, and it's often from events in the past. So that's 0 to 2 and 0 to 7, we do start to actually create that information with verbiage, with words, but yet still we haven't got that logical function. The brain is not switched into logical functioning so that we can rationalize what comes in. So Stacey, you said you once had a fear of diesel engines without knowing why. That's really interesting. So just while we're here, and I'm going to clear through. So if anybody has a phobia that they haven't pinpointed, maybe they've worked on it, they haven't pinpointed where it comes from. Yeah, so sessions, you said it was uncovered, it was your mother's fear. Exactly. So anybody online who's listening to this, could we go into those, we call them nucleated spheres, and release those fears that are disproportionate or not appropriate for your life now? We can heal, clear, and transform all of that emotion and release it from your energy field and from your body. So if you'd like that, all you need to do is say yes. And I've got the energy working through. Cool. Okay, let me know if you're in the replay, because this is at an odd time, maybe at a different timing for people all over the world. It's actually lunchtime here in Australia. Please do tell me what's going on in your replay, because I will review them every day, and whatever comes up, I will be responding. So let me know as we go on the replay what you're thinking and feeling. And if you're here live, I love you. Love that you're here live. I've got Stacey on at the moment, which is lovely. So that's the first set of imprints that come in. And I'm going to be talking about these imprints that come in without us knowing. That's the first set. And that literally is on in this life. So when you go to psychology appointments or any kind of hypnosis, those sort of things, they're working mainly on this life. That's not always the case, unless you do past life work. But mainly we're working on this life and all the beliefs and things that have been ingrained through here, all of the things that aren't assisting you in life. Now, with other therapies, other modalities, we go further. So the next level is the family level, the genetic level. And that is behaviors, beliefs that are within your family, maybe that have been held in the last 7 generations, and they've been passed down, and they're often unspoken. But yet because we're brought up in the family, we're seeing the behaviors that indicate those beliefs. So there may be a belief around it is not right to steal, or rich people steal money, or if I have something, it will be taken away from me, or it is not safe to rest. So these are all things that can be learnt through just being around our family. And even if you're only with your mum and dad, then you'll find that they're actually playing out those beliefs, and that it's been brought in. So maybe you don't have contact with maybe further back than your grandparents, but this goes usually 7 or so generations back. And it's the whole family tree. So it's from both sides, and you are in a conglomeration of all of these beliefs holding you in a space where you are operating from a set of rules. They are rules that you didn't create. They are rules that you didn't decide on or choose, but yet you are still operating from them. It's like having an old, outdated software program sitting on a computer, and the computer is really high tech and new and fancy, but the computer program is from the 1990s. And so the computer will still operate through that program, even though the technology, the computer itself is much, much different and much new and updated. Now, some of those beliefs actually create our identity. So when we actually go through and release some of these beliefs, it's important not to unhook ourselves so much that we lose who we are. So everywhere where beliefs are hooked into your identity, your true identity, can we just upgrade them? Would that be okay? Because we can do that. We can do that through energy healing. We can upgrade those beliefs so they match our new streamlined computer. Would that be okay? So again, all you have to do is say yes. And you'll notice I'm not giving you specifics here, because we're asking your wonderful being, your subconscious, which is magnificent, to actually work this out for itself. And it doesn't need any intervention particularly. And I'm just witnessing that through energy. Okay. So these cultural blueprints, these genetic blueprints generally happen within the family, but it can also be within a small tribe or group. So if you were not maybe in contact with your birth parents and you were brought up by other people, you will pick up the initial layers of the people that you were brought up with. There is another layer though, and that is the DNA layer. So there may be more ancestral stuff that's picked up through your birth family. And this is where you see adoptive children who behave or be completely different from their adoptive families, because they still have the interwoven imprints from the womb, from the birth mum, and from that space they're working back through the birth generation. They often have two lots of beliefs, and sometimes those belief pods, those belief sets, will actually clash, and that can cause a lot of friction in knowing their identity. So that's the next part of the genetic level, as it were. And then we go to what we call a historical or ancestral level. That's often the tribe. It may be the culture you're brought into, the country you're in, all of these things which will dictate your belief sets. So very often you'll find that people who have come from war-torn countries hold beliefs around scarcity, lack, starvation, fear around violence, fear around authority figures. And these things can really hold you back, because as we push through in the world as entrepreneurs or as professionals, there are people around us who are in authority. And if we're holding a belief set around fear, around lack of trust, around unsafety for authority figures or people who are in authority in those countries, then that is going to hold us back from pushing forwards, because we're always going to be deferring through maybe survival fear. We may act with aggression without realizing. We may act with anger without realizing. And these things are going to hold us back from performing our best, whether it be in the entrepreneurial space, if that's what you're in, or even in a professional space, because we're so used to kowtowing to authority so that we don't get hurt, or so that something bad doesn't happen. Now, that is often on what we call a history level beyond 7 generations back, or just in the collective space of your culture where you were brought up. And then the next one is the personal energy stamps. Often these are called the soul level. In theta healing, one of the modalities, this is the soul level. It's also your personality energy stamp, your identity, your higher self. You may call it all sorts of different things. And to this point, most purely analytical based psychologies have yet to work out why nature and nurture do not always match up. Because if we were to release all of the beliefs around that there is energy, or there is spirituality, or there is a soul, all of these things, we are still left with a pattern of behavior and a way of being that isn't easily or logically identified or defined. So where does that come from? So we look at it as a soul, or the being, or the energy. And the way you can actually find out more about that is through contemplation, through exploration of self, or also using tools such as human design, gene keys. Astrology is another way of really finding out more about ourselves. Numerology, all of these more ancient, and so far Western science has not actually subscribed to them because they cannot quantify or qualify what they are. And yet we know in science, each time there is a new discovery, it's often something that previously was not believed to be true. And then eventually the thought processes of scientists began to actually discover and to validate more of these technologies. You've only got to look at people like Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza, and others that are not as famous, who are working in those fields, who will say, and they don't want to call it necessarily soul or these things, but they will say there is something else. There is something else there that we do not yet know exactly how to validate, quantify, qualify, etc. So even if you don't believe in that, there is a way that we are that really informs how we are in the world, how we behave, and how we experience our life. Just to give you a really basic example, you may be the sort of person who is very, very energetic all the time, likes to socialize loads, and you don't need lots of time for resting. You're constantly on the go. And you may have certain tendencies towards being very, very committed to things, or having a very analytical mind, or getting overwhelmed with emotions of people around you. All of these things can be described and identified with things like human design, gene keys, language and behavior profiles, all of these things. So when we actually know more about ourselves and how we operate through all of these layers, the 0 to 7 imprinting, the genetic family imprinting, the cultural imprinting, and then who we are as a person and how we function in the optimal way in the world, we can then look at starting to change and align all of these areas with what we would like as a life, as a life experience. And I've called it success here. Success is not necessarily maybe the word that maybe you think it could be. So for me, I'm looking at success as an experience, as a journey, rather than a destination or how it's defined in the material world. So when we're talking about following your own flow to success, the first thing we need to know is what is our flow. And the second thing we need to know is what is our definition of success. Now, often, this is quite interesting, often it's assumed that when we talk about following your own flow to success and redefining success for you, or undefining success from different people's points of view, often people think that what I'm trying to do when we do this is actually get you to think smaller or create smaller dreams so that you get more satisfaction. It's actually the opposite. In order to really achieve what is our, well, I wouldn't even say true potential. It's more because potential is unlimited. But in order to achieve what we would really, truly like, if we didn't have all these beliefs and inner thoughts running the game, often we have ambitions that are so great, so big that it scares us. And we know that we won't be able to necessarily achieve those in the way that we are operating now. And yet, there'll be some values that we wish not to let go of. So then comes the point where we need to say to ourselves, okay, how attached am I to this particular thing that if I was to release it, would allow me to achieve unlimited potential in line with my purpose, in line with my true flow of energy, and in line with all of the things that enliven me. So everywhere where you are holding on to things that you could release, you could loosen, can we allow you to just put those down at the moment? Maybe just do something a different way for once. So all of those fears, I know that I'm already encountering resistance here, but all of those fears, all of those underlying beliefs of I'll be excluded, I won't be accepted anymore, I'll lose my family, I'll lose this, it's not safe. Things like that and all of the aspects of those, can we heal, clear and transform them? And that's to allow you to step into the possibility of unlimited potential. What if you could live your life through unlimited potential? How would that look? So, there was a lot of information there. Hopefully a lot of it you actually you did know already. And if you didn't and you've got questions, I would love to answer any questions around that. Those 2 clearings that we did, I invite you to just record the snapshots of clearings that I did. I did 2 there, and actually replay them, because what they do is they go into the subconscious and allow the mind to unravel itself and to find resistances and just to bring them into the conscious mind initially. That's what we're looking for. We need them to come into the conscious mind so that we can start working on them. So I'm also going to give you some play for home after this, once you've watched this. If you're actually looking to create some change in these 5 days, if you follow these daily tasks, you will find yourself shifting and changing. So those of you, so there's two steps to this. First of all, if you don't have a meditative practice daily, I will invite you to begin one, and I will actually gift all of you who wish it a 5-minute blissful reset. So you'll notice I'm not giving you a 20-minute one. Ideally, what I suggest to everybody is that you do a minimum of 20 minutes a day, and ideally 2 lots of meditation, morning and evening, because you are clearing out things that have come up in your sleep time overnight in the morning, so that you have your day set, and in the evening you're clearing out everything that's happened in the day, and in that way also you're having a sleep that is more restorative. So I'm going to gift you the 5-minute reset to start you off, and then over the few days you'll get lots of gifts from me, because I like to shower with gifts. I invite you to try that and to do that daily for the 5 days and see what shifts you have. The next part of that is actually some journaling, or just some writing down. What I'd like you to do is to write down all of the behaviors and the ways that you are being, your habits, that do not serve you when you're thinking of any goals or success. We're not looking to redefine or create vision here just yet. What I'm looking for is for you to write down the behaviors and habits that are not the highest level for you to step into what you wish to become. So that's the first thing you'll do. And when you actually identify those habits and behaviors, if you want to, you can also write down what would be better habits or behaviors, because we can't remove a habit completely, but what we do is we change it. And this works amazingly well on things that we become addicted to. So maybe you have a morning ritual that you become addicted to. I invite you to actually shift it for these 5 days. So if you wake up and the first thing you do is you go to, to the bathroom, and then you brush your teeth, and then you make a coffee, even just shifting where you have your coffee, what type of coffee might be a step too far. Maybe you put some exercise in, literally just shifting your habits, shifting them and jiggling them up. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel like your day is unsettled. But when you do this and then you do the blissful reset, which is it's actually 8 minutes, 8-minute meditation, you'll find that your day actually settles into a different energy, a different way. So jiggle your routines up in the morning, write out all your behaviors and what you would wish to have instead, and then do your meditation. That's my invitation for you. And I'd love to hear your experiences. So you can either put them underneath this video or any of the other lives that I'll be doing. And yeah. So thank you very much. That was day 1. I can't wait to see you on day 2. And as I said, it will be spontaneous. It's just basically driven by when I've got the space for that in between clients and children and family. So, and I just give you I learned about myself, and this is why I do things this way, is that if I schedule too much for myself at specific times, so nothing is scheduled, there are things scheduled obviously, but if I overschedule myself, that squishes my space for creativity, for intuition, and the gap, the silent pauses that allow me to have information just drop in, inspiration drop in. So that's why I'm not giving you a specific time. But it will probably be similar timings. So I hope that some of you can join me live. And there may be a time where I'm up late at night or early in the morning, and it will be more time zone comfortable for those of you in Europe and those of you in the US. So thanks very much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.